Presently, astronomy yawned and said, I am just as the world. We
One sec here. There we go. Yeah. All right. So let's see. Okay. All right, let me do a quick sound check. You can hear me out there? Okay. Excellent. So we are live here with the artists for our live Q&A. Thank you so much, Agnes and the Norman Conquest, our featured artist tonight, Dokuro.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Great.
So, maybe just to start, that was a really beautiful piece. A lot of really intriguing imagery. Very, I don't know, it definitely took me on a trip to another place. Just curious about the creation of the visual part of the work. Can you maybe help our audience understand like what that was about, how you did that?
Well, I can start, and I'll leave it to Norman, because Norman and my daughter actually.
Our daughter.
Our daughter. They shot the video. They were doing like a little experiment, and I'll let Norman talk about that. And then Norman edited like a first version, and then we worked on polishing and kind of finalizing it together. So take it away.
So the video was all liquids, basically, with ultraviolet lights. And so one thing we used that I looked up was turmeric. Actually works really well if you put it in vinegar, and then you put it in the water and make it spin around and stir it, then it looks really crazy and dreamy. Tried a bunch of other random stuff, this and that, and then of course the little blocks at that certain point. Yeah, just had a lot of fun with it. Little art project, basically.
So we were essentially watching things flow through this liquid, right?
Yep.
Interesting. And it definitely seemed like a piece that, given enough time, could go on for an extended length. You could just bask in it for very long. I really love that about it.
We tend to never really overstay our welcome. 40 minutes seems to be about the max for us ever for playing live.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I was curious about that part of it. The performative aspect of it. So how did the sound and the come together, and tell me about the creation of the sound and the image, and well, and your general like philosophy around performing for something like this.
Well, I think that's something that's really specific about this project for both of us, is that it's a very like performance-based, let's just do it kind of project. We tried to avoid getting too cerebral about things because we fight. So, like anytime we have to actually like produce something, I think that Norman and I have such a different artistic approach to our own solo stuff that when we're working together, we kind of, think about like what tools and what instruments we're going to use, but then the actual playing, we just play. We can't, like, once we start composing, it gets a little tricky for us. So yeah, we just play. So basically we were just looking at the video and playing along to it.
Oh, that's awesome.
We sectioned it off into a few sections, and then yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
let's think. Like a score in the sense that while you're watching it, you're playing to it.
Yeah, and we rarely plan things. It's just not this, like, otherwise we really do. If you know Norman's work at all, his stuff is so like repetition based, like so like quantity and size based. And this project, we're just like, okay, let's plug in and play, and that's what we do. So it's kind of like it fits really well with our other work and just our lifestyle together. Yeah. And then this year we did do like a concert series on Twitch when all this started happening, and really started to just play around with like the visual aspect of playing live online. And I know that it works for some people and it doesn't work for others for a variety of reasons. But for some reason, for this project, for us, we really enjoy playing online, and we like chatting with people while we're playing, and it's just been super fun. And then thank you so much for letting us do this, because this was such a great way to finish off this year with like a piece that, isn't necessarily just a show. It's kind of like put together. And so it was really, really fun.
Yeah, I was really excited to be able to bring your work to our audiences and see, what the crossover was, because I definitely was watching the chat and know that you all have a really great following. So that was really fun just to watch everyone get into it and share their different experiences of your work. It's too bad we can't all be in the same room, lying on the floor, maybe staring up at our projections and listening to your music together. But
Yeah, that would be great. Next year, maybe, everybody.
Yeah, we'll get everyone plastic pods they can all lie in.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, next year. That's what does the future look like for you all? Because I know you seem to have adapted and did some like shows online, this music series.
Yeah.
Do you plan on continuing to do that, or what do you think?
I think so. Again, like our project is so performance based that I think we have to, if we're going to continue this project, that's what we're going to be doing. And like all of our, I don't know if you know, but like all of our albums are all actually recordings from tour and live shows.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just kind of the nature of this beast. But we are starting to think about maybe putting an album together, since we haven't released anything since 2012 or 13, something like that. So, just a lot of hopefully playing. We were just talking about that actually before the show, like, hey, we got to continue to perform next year, no matter what the circumstances are.
Well, and one thing that I was saying was that, through Corona, I've learned to really love this interface, because for one thing, we as artists can control the visuals and the sound 100%. And there's no weird like, oh, the sound in this room is with crappy PA speakers. No, I mean, yeah, of course, somebody at home could have that, but they could also be listening on headphones and hear just the direct music that we created and see just the visuals, and not like, the exit sign from the bar right over there and people clanking at the bar. It's very controlled.
Yeah.
Which I really enjoy.
Yeah, it's like, that's the positive part.
Yes.
And the personal experience of cinema.
Yeah.
In a sense. Yeah, that has been like one of the things that I look forward to as well. Just getting immersed, in your own situation and cracking open your own beer, the beer that you like, or if you want to have dinner and also catch a performance, like you can do all of it, at the same time. The other side of it, though, is that, and I know we're going through this, we may have had exhibitions in another space, and you kind of go and do your show, and then you go home, and there's a separation between the two, but now everything's all in one place. We're kind of living in, there's the lines are all blurred. How do you negotiate that part of it where your home life and your kind of performative life, or maybe, I don't know, do you have a separation, or where do you do your performances, I guess?
Well, Norman and I are very fortunate. We both have our own like workspace studio in the house. His looks very different than mine.
Welcome.
And we were rehearsing and performing in my studio. And then for this, we decided to move some stuff around and bring my rig in here. So now this is, I guess, our rehearsal space is his studio.
So my synth is right over there. Then her stuff is right over there.
Yeah. And, my space is a lot more minimalist. So it works for me and my brain, but it's for rehearsal is fine to be in his studio. And, it's a different vibe.
Mhm.
It's dark. Mine's like very light and white, and his is like dark and man cavey.
Yeah.
In terms of negotiating live, I mean, you're a parent. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you have to just kind of adapt, I guess, And I think the thing that, for me, what I'm realizing is that no matter what the circumstances, I'm one of those people who has to just like make stuff. So like, I got to make it happen no matter what. Corona, no corona, this or that. I have to make things. I'm compelled to do so. It's like kind of not a choice. So, just try to make it work.
Yeah, that's been an interesting thing to kind of watch as well, like how artists are either overcoming all the hurdles and obstacles and trying to get out there and make the work.
Yeah.
At the same time, like, and it's understandable, there are a lot of artists who are just throwing their hands up because it's, especially in situations where maybe you need a dark room or chemicals or equipment that you just don't have at home.
Yeah. Or performing artists, like a lot of my friends are dancers. That's intense. That's a major loss. So I mean, we can jump into this kind of electronic thing and get into the computer stuff because that's a part of our like what we studied in our background and our aesthetic, but like that's not the case for a lot of people. So that must be really tough.
Yeah. One of the things we've been doing at Shapeshifters is holding these workshops, and the popular ones have been where people can do like hand processing of film using stuff from their kitchen, basically.
Oh yeah.
So that's been a huge outlet for people to make some work, and you don't need like a lab. You don't have to deal with toxic chemicals in your home.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel like it's been great to be a part of helping the work find an outlet or that creativity to find an outlet. I want to check the chat because if anybody in the audience has questions, they can post them in the chat. I don't know if you're looking at the chat too, but I'm just
I've been responding a little bit here and there.
Okay, good.
We are not trying to buy property on Mars yet. Didn't answer that question.
I don't know if there's any other questions. But...
And a comment about your earrings. I definitely love to.
You made these.
Oh, really? Okay.
My super talented husband made these. I mean, my band partner. They're like wood and painted on one side and
mirrored acrylic on the other.
side. I bust them out in December. They look like Christmas trees, you know, sparkle time. But yeah, I mean, we've been crazy busy. Like we're both working. We have a child. I've been working on this podcast with a friend of mine. He wrote it, and it's like a science fiction podcast, and I've just been like buried in that, like, and it actually released the first episode the same week as the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
so like the last 2 weeks have just been like, but should be chiller now.
I'll pop the link to that in the chat once I find it.
And tell me more about what you're doing for that.
Well, there's 2 of us producing it and creating it. So I'm doing everything besides writing it and directing it. But yeah,
Okay.
it's been super fun. Yeah, and we have like a really, really amazing cast who are super dedicated, and it's actually been super refreshing, and it's been really great to work with actors. They're very dedicated people, and it's just been an absolute pleasure.
So we got a couple of questions. Brian Gleason asks, did you mix it after it was recorded at all, or perform any editing, or just direct to stream? We did do some fancy mixing tricks here and there. Can't just leave it as is. That's not fun enough.
Mainly panning, because we have a weird amount of channels sometimes. Like sometimes I'll have 3, sometimes I'll have 2. Norman
I had 2 this time, but normally I only have 1.
yeah, and you know, like the panning for me, like Norman and I differ on this. This is why we don't produce music together. We actually argued about this, but he was okay with it being panned very flat the whole time. And like for me, after a while, I was like, and so we had to do some creative panning. I felt.
Which we were also under a little bit of a time crunch, so I was just like, it's fine, it's good. But
I was like,
yeah, I'm happy with how it turned out.
But that's pretty much it. We didn't we didn't put any effects on anything.
No, just some light compression. No, all the effects were handled by our insane rigs already.
We usually do all that stuff live,
so just a little bit of normal mixing stuff, and that's about it.
Yeah, I'll say I'm a big fan of panning too. So just and even just to put something in one ear and it doesn't, just to give like a little bit more oomph.
A little variety, you know.
Yeah, I love that. So maybe just a little bit on the gear that you have. I know you gave us a quick tour of your studio. So how are you generating?
Camera person, Norman can be the talent here.
Yeah, awesome. Wow, that's amazing.
So this is ARP 2600 recreation that I built, and then there's an acrylic case that I designed and built myself, and then a whole bunch of Euro rack down there. I've got a little silly keyboard to trigger it, and a mixing board to mix it all together. And that was, I had a bass guitar, which is my first instrument, with a looper pedal, and that was it. So that was my 2 chains. So I'd make these weird abstract bass loops, and then this was 90% of what else you heard.
On his portion.
Yeah. And then Agnes.
Well, right as we were about to record all this stuff, this happened.
Her electric cello.
This is my electric cello. But my good friend and ex-bandmate, Marielle Jacobson's very talented lady, she lent me her, just months ago, her electric violin, because I was playing a lot of violin last year. And so I played violin, and I have this harp that actually I've never played in Dokuro. I used to play it a lot in Murmur, but yeah, and then I have like a bunch of pedals and a glockenspiel. I was playing some handbells. And I was One of the new things that I've been doing this last year for Dokuro, which we used to never do, and I have stuff on the ground too, but it's hard to see. It's very dark. I've been reading a lot of text. I've really been enjoying that. Just
in performance.
yeah, like grabbing books that were either formative in some way for me. Like I was like, oh, you know, all that like early feminist literature. Like, is there anything cool in here? Obviously there is, but you know, stuff maybe that I left in the past. I've been kind of like, hey, why do I have all these books at home still? Why don't I use them? And so I've just been like picking out little paragraphs and then trying in the performance to like work through it and just seeing how song or just, you know, like a monologue, like what comes out of it. And usually it's very different every time, obviously. And I'll use different effects and I'll just play around with it and work through it actually like live. I rarely plan it out ahead of time. Well, I never plan it out ahead of time. I just kind of go for it. So that's been really fun and different.
So that was the voices that we heard during the performance.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was a sample of something,
We don't use samples. Yeah. We don't really use samples.
We live sample our own stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's kind of we do have some rules, and that's one of them. Like there's been a few times where I'm like, I really want to bring in this ambient recording. And Norman's like, no, you can't use soundscapes. So there's some rules in Dokuro.
Purists, yeah.
So we kind of like make everything live. Yeah. Did I answer the question that was asked? I'm sorry. I'm like, I did not get enough sleep last night.
No, I was just triggered or seeing the Ursula Le Guin. Thought that was interesting that you were actually reading. Was that the text you're reading from, by the way, too?
Yes, this time I was reading some Ursula. Norman is a huge fan. I enjoy her. I'm not as much of a fan, but I guess we like think about space a lot. And we're like, well, let's just continue with this space theme. And we have that book. And I was like, Norman, which book should I grab? And he's like, grab something of Ursula's. So that's what I did. And I opened it up and like and then was like, okay, I see this right here. Like the words just kind of jump out at me usually.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. There was a question in here too about the visuals. I think someone is asking if that was smoke.
Nope.
But no. Yeah.
Nope. It's all the liquids. The thing that I think he's thinking of was I had some strobe lights, some LEDs that I made that were basically triggered by this drum machine, which our daughter and I couldn't hear, but it was just triggering these lights. So it was going blink, 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 blink. And then the liquids were going through. And then I actually took the video and flipped it 180 degrees. So what you're seeing is the surface of the water and then the drops coming out of it that way and looking like kind of mushroom cloud sort of things that kind of look like smokish, sort of, sure. But there was a little bit of color grading correction that happened after the fact, but all the lighting was just those UV lights and then those little blinky lights, which I'll grab some.
Yeah, Norman and I, we work with lights
like
on some of our other projects, and Norman custom builds lights. Like he built some lights for one of my shows at Grace Cathedral, because he does all that crafty electronic stuff.
Yeah.
When he performs, he has all these like lights that go off based on different patterns that his synthesizer is producing. So.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of that kind of made it into the video, which is cool because it would be a part of the performance anyways, and then it became this other thing, right? Which is cool. And then we, after that, synced up with it. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like building on itself in a way, which is, I hadn't thought about that until just now. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that flickering is what you're talking about, right? That
Yep.
we saw kind of midway. So that was generated by sound triggering the light. That's what you're saying?
Well, voltages and not even sound. It's just a trigger, like a synthesizer trigger to say,
Okay.
turn on this drum right now, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. And that's all it's doing. Is we just had this drum machine that was just saying on, off, on, off, on, off.
Wow. So if someone was in the room while you were filming this, like what they would see is exactly what you shot, right? Essentially.
If your eyeball was like this close to the water, yes, it was stupid macro, and the lens was, let's say, here, and the water was like right there. So it was, you're looking at a beaker that's maybe 3-4 inches diameter, and then magnify that with a macro lens. That's what that was.
Oh wow. Okay, I was picturing like a 50-gallon aquarium.
No, our 50-gallon aquarium we got back there. We're gonna jump right in after this.
Oh, it was really weird because it was in this room, and we put down a bunch of trash bags because the liquids might spill, and I didn't want them to leak onto everything. And so it was a whole scene, and we blocked off all the light in this room, which isn't very much to begin with, but like my window, I had to just completely cover it. And then it was just UV lights, which was really hard, of course, to work with, because if that's your only working light, then you're tripping over everything all the time.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, most camera sensors are not that, you're really limited by the technology of whatever is inside that camera. And we don't actually own one right now. We were like borrowing one, and so that part of it, I think, for future work is something that could be better.
Probably be better at this point to use her new phone camera, maybe.
I don't know about that.
They've gotten really good.
But then of course it's like, then you're dealing with like slowing that down, even though it was shot at 60 frames per second, and like magnifying it. And then you're also dealing with like, oh, we had to like make it YouTube MP4, which that one actually looked pretty good. But then this last layer, it got really, on our end, it got really pixelated. I don't know how it looked for anybody else, but.
Yeah. I think the low lighting and stuff too is tricky with the YouTube.
They don't, the interframe compression doesn't like flowy, slow, dark changes. That's not what it excels at.
Okay, so now just picturing this, you're kind of dipping your toe in a sense in like the liquid light show drama genre. I'm just thinking about a show that with projection art that we did,
like Pauline Oliveros style.
Thinking of like the Joshua Light Show and like the Fillmore like light shows, that those done with like oil and water on overheads, but
right.
And then projected really big. So in a sense, this is a similar situation with the camera pointed at this jar, and then that blown up, which could have projected if you'd done this like in a space in front of a live audience too. I'm guessing there's probably artists out there, if they're watching, thinking about incorporating that now to their light show. It sounds like a pretty cool technique. Just pointing that camera at that. Of course, you were slowing it down though, right?
So,
yeah. Okay. Let's see. I guess, maybe we should wrap it up. Are there any final things you want to tell us about the piece that you're working on? Or this piece or anything new that you're working on before we go?
Just the podcast for her and anything else,
Um,
which I linked to in the YouTube chat, by the way.
yeah, nothing, no. I mean, we just, I feel like one of the things that we were really trying to think about is, this piece is about how the universe is like expanding and shrinking, and we're like this tiny part of that, and I don't know if you can think about like things like this in a positive or negative way, but I think it helps some people to think that way. And I feel like, this year was just so intense for so many people, and I'm hoping that it's like some sort of universal, like suddenly we went this way, but perhaps next year will be a little bit more, like we'll be breathing out a little more, and yeah, I don't know.
The contracting and expansion
Yeah.
universe.
Like, we're part of a much bigger thing, and it wasn't great this year, but hopefully things will kind of open up next year.
That's a really great thought to end with. Thank you so much for sharing your work with us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And we love all that you do, and that you guys are in Oakland.
Yeah, we want to keep doing it. So, we love supporting your work. So, definitely keep everyone informed about what you have coming up. We'll definitely check out the podcast. Curious about that too.
Yeah. The person who wrote it, his name is Ali Kareem. Just want to give a shout out, Ali. All right. Well, thank you so much, Gilbert. This was a real pleasure. And it's really good.
It was see you all hang out tonight on a Sunday night.
Yep.
Okay, cheers. I'm gonna flip back to our slideshow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Have a great night. Mwah.